Hey everyone, how are you today? Bess McCarty here, coach for business and life, and also called the shrink of MLM because I specialize in coaching network marketers too. I'm here today to let you know about an inner child class coming up in case that you might know someone who might like to know about this and benefit from this. I'll start out with a story. When I was a new mother, I had my son would wake up in the night and cry and nurse and go back to sleep. But I was left still crying. The reason for that is, I'll explain just a moment here. Inner child work means healing the issues from the past that can still affect our lives today. Say that we're growing up, and there are actually 5 childhood stages, which I'll describe in a moment, but there are 5 childhood stages. Perhaps we didn't get our needs met in any one of those stages, and then it can seep into our life today and affect our life today. So this is what it looked like for me. As a new mom, my son would wake up in the night, cry, go back to sleep. But I would stay up crying. I felt this deep, heart-wrenching loneliness. And I didn't know what that was about. And my husband would wake up and say, well, what's wrong? And I'm crying, and he would try to comfort me. And after a couple nights of this, he goes, I got to get some sleep. I got to work in the morning. And so then I was left alone again. But it was a deep feeling of like abandonment and deep, deep heartbreak. And I didn't know what this was. But then I asked my mom, did you let, me as a baby, did you let me cry alone sometimes? She goes, oh yeah, that's what we were taught to do. If the baby's not, you don't spoil the child. If the baby is not wet or hungry or, need a diaper changing or anything, then you just let them cry it out. They cry themselves to sleep. Well, now that was the advice that they got back then, and I know that she did the best that she could. But what this has resulted in is a deep heartbreak. That child is alone, and it's not crying out for because it needs a diaper change or food. It's crying out for companionship and love. And they found now that when you let babies cry just a little bit, that's okay. But if you let them cry for extended periods of time, it actually harms the baby. It releases too much cortisol, the stress hormone, and it can actually cause brain damage. So it's not recommended nowadays, but that's what she did. And that's the leftover heartbreak that I didn't know was in there until I had my own child and held my own baby at that same age, triggered my own programming from that time. Very interesting. So I was left alone, in the night. I was heartbroken, and, this was about abandonment, feeling abandoned, right? So after my son wakes up, I am flooded with these feelings. And my husband needs to get his sleep, so then I felt really, really alone. And what happened to me one night was, it got very deep and very, very painful. One night, I remember it was so painful that a relief came. And it was in the form of an image of a big bosomy grandmother that scooped me up and rocked me and held me until I felt full of love. Very interesting. Well, it worked. I don't know where this image came from. I think it was a gift. This image was a gift. That experience was a gift to show me that I can heal my own inner child from the past. And so whenever I would awake and feel that loneliness, that heartbreaking loneliness, I would vision and imagine, put myself back into that grandmother's arms. And so that's how I healed again and again and again whenever I felt that crushing deep loneliness and heartbreak. And so again and again and again, and each time it lessened and lessened until I learned how to do that for myself. I learned how to give this to myself, to imagine whatever was missing. And another place that this showed up in my life was that when I was 10, my father died of cancer. We were farmers here in Kansas, and his brother taught him to spray the crops. That's what you do in those years to have a better yield, and it was the thing to do. But I believe that that's the chemicals in spraying the crops and the cows and everything. That's what eventually led to an early death. So I was heartbroken about that. I grew up without a father and missed that. And what I found myself doing was that I would look for a father in men that I dated. And that wasn't good because that's something that was a gap, something missing from my childhood that I needed to fill in, so that I didn't try to find a mate to be my father, to be that replacement or fill in what was missing for me. So that brought me to the therapy work, because the relationship's not working because of that. And that's what really got me into therapy. I began working on this issue and began learning. I learned this inner child work and learned that I can also give myself an inner father. I learned how to give myself an inner grandmother. And then I learned how to give myself that inner father, to reparent myself. So this work has really profoundly, deeply touched me, and it has become one of my life works to share this with other people. I've helped hundreds of people to overcome this. One of my favorite ways, I do one-on-one coaching, and also in groups is very powerful too. It's all confidential, but one of the inner child healings that I love doing is groups. And I'll give you information a little bit about a group going on right now. But I'll tell you what we do in there is we go through each of the 5 childhood stages. So there's a total of 6 inner child classes in this series, based on John Bradshaw's work, Homecoming. And what we do is each class we have a guided meditation that goes through, takes you back to that stage so that you can be there and you can see it and feel it. And then you see if anything is triggering you from that stage. And then the second part is we sit in a circle, and one person has a turn to go at a time, and sits in the middle and looks into the eyes of each of the person around them and hears a positive affirmation for that stage that begins to fill that gap of what maybe they were missing in that stage. And then thirdly, we have a sharing where the person gets to express their feelings, how it felt to do that guided meditation and to be in that circle. So the 5 childhood stages, I just wanted to mention what they are here. And the first one is there's infant, toddler, preschool, school age, and adolescent. And in the infant stage, if the needs didn't get met here, being welcomed to the world, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're a boy, I'm glad you're a girl, I'm prepared to take care of you, and I can't wait to do that. But if those needs did not get met, of that child feeling welcome and secure, then the issues that come up that seep into our current life and show up are loneliness, like mine did, fears, low self-esteem, trust issues, and addictions of any type. Trying to hang on to something, trying to find that security. And so when the people in the class sit in the circle and hear this from the other members in the class, this begins to turn that around and heal that, or to let them know what they missed, because it will trigger usually tears. The toddler stage, this is where if the needs didn't get met, that might show up in life as feeling misfit, worry, people-pleasing, critical, can't say no to people, guilt, and communication problems. I think we might all have a little bit from each of these stages, right? Because our parents were not perfect. So with the toddler affirmations, what the toddler might have missed hearing was, you can say no, and I'll still love you. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to make me happy. My happiness is my responsibility, not yours. Because sometimes as a child you say, you make me so mad. Or, look, mommy's mad because of you. Or mommy's sad because of you. So we begin to heal these things. In preschool, this is the issues here. If the needs in preschool did not get met, the issues that might show up in life might look like control issues, feeling responsible for others, feeling inferior, anger, procrastination, or fearing making mistakes. And this is where the preschooler needs to hear and gets to hear in a class like this. You can make a mistake. You can make a mistake. Life is for learning. There's room for you to make mistakes here. And you can even be angry. And you will not lose my love. Anger is okay to have anger. You need to be responsible for how you express it, but it's okay to be angry, and you're not going to lose my love. Lastly is fourth is the school age. And if the needs of this stage do not get met, it might show up in our lives as conflict, isolation, rebellion. I have certainly had that. And relationship troubles. And so this is where the child needs to hear, or needs to have learned, or can fill this gap in, that it's okay to work things out. It's okay to disagree. It's okay to not think the same. We can work together on this, and you don't need to isolate. You don't need to fight. Those are the two things that people do, right? We withdraw or we fight. And you don't need to do this to get along in life. We can sit down and talk things out. We can be different, and we can still love each other. The fifth stage is the adolescent stage, and that carries its own sort of repeat of whatever didn't get handled in these. You can see that the first three stages, the infant, the toddler, and the preschool, are about issues at home, what we learn at home, and how to be in life, and how to be in relationship with other people. And then we take that learning to school. That's the school age, where it gets tested out in the world and see, well, how is this working? Did I learn what I need to get along well in school? And how is this working for me? And we get to test that out in school. And then adolescent is where it replays whatever didn't get learned or done in the other stages. So the inner child class is about finding what's missing and filling that in so it can stop affecting our lives today, so each of us can have the lives that we know we are meant to have. This is really the most heart-opening and most eye-opening work that I've ever experienced and that I've ever led for deep, lasting change. I've been leading it for over 30 years with groups and individuals, and phone, online, and in person. The in-person classes are even more wonderful because you get to look each other in the eye, but I have both. And I especially do recommend this for parents, so that it's a gift to children. It's a gift to our children when we look at ourselves and heal the patterns that happen from childhood so that it stops with us. It does not get passed on. That's real important. That's a real gift to be able to give our children. So I hope this was enlightening. I will put information about this class below, and would love to let people know. If you know someone who can use this, I'd love to let people know about it. Thank you very much for listening and for sharing.